Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program tonight. Let me just adjust this camera just a little bit. I want to welcome everybody to our program tonight. We're going to start off this program by the singing of the United States National Anthem. I would ask everyone now to please rise. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We appreciate these men doing this for us. We also appreciate all of our entire military, whether they be here in the United States or overseas. We love and appreciate each and every one of them. We want to thank also our allied armed forces, wherever they might be in their various countries. We want to thank them for their service. We want to thank everyone involved with our militaries worldwide, thank them for their service, and we wish them fair seas and following skies, and we hope and pray that they can return home to their families in safety after their tours of duty end. Thank you so much, men and women. We love and appreciate you ever so much. And again, thank you for your service. We have a lot to talk about tonight. A ton of things to talk about tonight. The first thing we want to talk about again is the fire just north of Los Angeles in Malibu, in the Malibu Hills. We now have over 4,000 acres that's burned. 4,000 acres that have burned. Let me show you the mandatory evacuation area. Okay? Mandatory evacuations over to the west, right near the ocean and inland as well. We have mandatory evacuation orders actually in Malibu, California, on the west side and the east side of Malibu, California, and in Malibu, California itself, all over the hills there. Homes have burned. 7 structures have burned. A total 7 structures have burned. This shows a fire area right now, and the other evacuation areas here. Now, I said the other day that there was an evacuation center in Palisades Park. That is closed. The evacuation center is now over in Santa Monica. You go to the Los Angeles site and you can look at the Santa Monica Recreation Center. That's where the evacuation center is right now. Now, the Malibu fire is very, very tough. Let me show you the latest information that we have. This was as of this morning. This video was as of this morning. Let's show it to you right now.
Our teams were on the ground the moment the fire broke out in Malibu, and this morning evacuations remain in place as the fire grows to nearly 4,000 acres. Eyewitness News reporter Irene Cruz is live in Malibu with the very latest. Irene.
Yeah, Leslie, we have some new numbers that just came in. The fire is now 7% contained, according to CAL FIRE. And now that the sun is coming out, we're getting a better look at what conditions look like this morning. Flakes of ash are still coming down. There's a hazy smoky haze in the air, I should say. And right now we are seeing less wind. So that is the good news that we're seeing this morning. Fire crews are out here dealing with hot spots, and we're hoping that they can make some really good progress. This morning we have video of the latest evacuations. This at Malibu RV Park around midnight, close to PCH and Corral Canyon. 2,000 structures are still under mandatory evacuation orders, and roughly 6,000 are under evacuation warnings. The fire started before 11 p.m. Monday night in a Malibu Canyon area. The flames driven by Santa Ana winds and low humidity. LA County Fire describes the damage as minimal. 7 buildings have been destroyed, 8 have been damaged. The LA County Fire Chief says better conditions overnight help them in their firefighting strategy.
We're going to take advantage of the lower temperatures, the higher humidities, to try to get more containment. Some of the areas are very steep. There's no road network that we're able to access, so we're actually going to have to hike our firefighters and our wildland firefighting hand crews in.
And back out here live, it's still a very active scene. More than 1,500 firefighters are out here battling those flames, both from state and local agencies. This morning I've seen helicopters making drops of water, and the investigation into the cause of the fire is still happening.
The investigation into the fire is still underway. Okay? Let's put it that way. Now, I've got another video here I'm going to show you in a minute. I want to recap what we know right now. This is the latest story on this fire. Again, this is called the Franklin Fire in Malibu, California. It's now burned over 4,000 acres with only 7% containment. After 7 homes and other structures have been destroyed. Over 4,000 acres, guys. That's a lot. Forcing 20,000 residents to flee as flames advance on homes, horse farms, and the Pepperdine University that we talked about last night. Again, Pepperdine University today again canceled classes for the entire day, and possibly even tomorrow, as students were ordered to shelter in place. Shelter in place again. What does that mean? That means stay in their dorms, stay in their homes where they're at, not to leave. In order to shelter in place, you have to have food. You have to be able to protect your shelter as well. That's what these students are doing. The Franklin Fire is yet one of the late wildfires that's fanned by fierce Santa Ana winds. Now, overnight, the Santa Ana winds died down, and they don't expect the Santa Ana winds to get to where they were during the last 3 days. But there's still some winds and breezes going on. Fortunately, at night, the sea breezes have come in to the shoreline. And as a result, the firefighters have been able to make some headway on this fire. But there's been a huge trail of destruction left, confirming 7 structures have destroyed and 9 others damaged. Evacuations have displaced residents, 20,000 residents, and celebrities such as Dick Van Dyke and Cher have been evacuated from their homes. Malibu Mayor Doug Stewart called it a traumatic 20 hours for the city as emergency operations relocated to Calabasas after the city hall in Malibu was threatened. He said, it burns, it grows back, and we're resilient. He's already planning for the future. It burns, it grows back, and we're resilient. More than 1,500 firefighters are battling this blaze, with many roads closed and others under security patrols. They're only allowing residents in where the emergency warnings are in place. Now let me explain this. Let me take a minute and explain the difference between evacuation orders and warnings. Evacuation warnings are where you're given a certain amount of time to get out. Evacuation warnings are just that. It's a warning that you need to get everything together. Your identification, your medical records, passports, maps that might help you and guide you out of the area. You need to have food. You need to have clothing with you as well. You need to have your medical kits. Your first aid kits. You need to have water. Everything. Now, we have in the past talked about emergency plans as well. Yes, you need an emergency plan, and we're still talking about it. We are going to talk about emergency plans forever. Everyone that lives, anyone that's breathing, if you breathe, you need to have an emergency plan for you, your family, including your animals. Now, in this time period in the Malibu Hills, many of these ranchers had major lands. They had a lot of acreage. Some of them had horses and other animals. They've had to lead those horses and animals to safety. At the Los Angeles Fairgrounds, for example, they're housing large animals, and other fairgrounds and areas where they're housing large animals. And there's even an area for small animals. Okay? But everybody's been evacuated now. 3,000 students at Pepperdine are sheltering in place as a fire is still moving. Smoke and embers around the campus area still, because the breezes are still blowing the smoke and embers from the fire over into Pepperdine University. And even some of the Pepperdine University property has been burned. Ash has been everywhere. Embers are everywhere. Everyone is having to play it safe. Everyone's playing it safe. Again, the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Meteorologists have warned that even though the strongest winds have passed, the dangers remaining today, especially in the hilly areas. Again, the latest on the Franklin fire. It's now burned over 4,000 acres. Malibu wildfires map I've shown you here. And I continue to update everybody about what's going on. Let me put the mandatory evacuation map up here again. This is the map. Okay? The map shows how far the fire is spread. Even Dick Van Dyke and Cher have been evacuated from their homes. Officials have warned residents to heed evacuation warnings as the threat continues. Evacuation warnings are just that. an opportunity to get everything together you need, load it in your car, and be ready to leave. And if you even think about leaving and you see fire approaching, get out. Do not be forced out of your home. Leave. Leave before the fire gets there. Leave before you're being forced out. Don't wait to be forced out. Don't wait for the evacuation order. Get out. You can get out during the evacuation warning. Okay? Downtown Los Angeles is under a smoke advisory. Bad air. Air quality is not good at all in Los Angeles. That means people with breathing orders such as myself would be very hard to stay in that area. We would need to go over to the coastline or even other places in order to have our health stay as it is. People with breathing disorders should know that they should be able to leave and go to some place else where it's easier to breathe, that they might still be able to maintain their health. Downtown LA is under a smoke advisory. Now, I don't believe this is going to stay for any length of time. However, you need very much to be aware that it could last for another few days at least. The Malibu Library remains closed. Now, as this goes on, there are federal, state, and local partners that are continuing to manage this fire. There is a incident command headquarters over just near the coast of Malibu, the Incident Command Center. There is an area command as well over in Los Angeles, where federal, state, and local partners have gotten together that are trying to manage this fire, including Cal Fire, California Fire, Los Angeles Fire, Malibu Fire, Orange County Fire. Out even over to San Diego Fire has also donated firefighters to this cause. Fewer than 50,000 customers without power today. Fewer than 50,000 customers without power over in the Los Angeles area, according to PowerOutage.org.us, Power Outage US. That tally exceeded 60,000 yesterday, which means 10,000 people have gotten their power back. There is a wildfire smoke advisory extended to possibly Thursday night into Friday. Thursday night into Friday. A wildfire smoke advisory. Now, I'm going to also touch on fire prevention or fireproofing steps to help protect your homes. If you live over in the Malibu area, or you live anywhere in California where you might have a fire happen, especially now with these Santa Ana winds. The Santa Ana winds have been known to happen all the way through Christmas. Okay? Some residents have trimmed their trees back. Some residents have gotten to the point where they have removed all debris anywhere near their homes. We recommend making your homes fireproof. If you have lawns, trim your lawns down to the lowest possible common denominator where the lawns are still green. You don't want your lawns to get brown because brown lawns will catch fire. Keep your lawns green. Keep them watered. But be advised. Los Angeles Water Department is warning everybody. Stop watering your lawns right now. Stop watering your lawns right now. If you're not under a fire advisory, if you don't have a fire anywhere near you, then you can water your lawns. But right now when this situation with this fire is so prevalent, you need to make sure the water is more turned to the fire. Making sure the fire department has adequate supplies of water. Okay? But clear the brush and trees away from your house. Clear the brush and surrounding brush and trees away from your house. Do not let it burn. Okay? Some residents have already put pre-burned wood on their roofs. Pre-burned wood on their roofs. That's not likely to catch fire as much as fresh wood that's had a chance to dry out. One resident also built a fire truck turnaround in their yard. Build a fire truck turnaround in their yard, allowing fire trucks to pull right up in front of their house to try to save their house. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Now, don't wait to evacuate. Whenever there's evacuation warning, you have the opportunity to get everything together. Once you have everything together, evacuate. Get out while the getting out's good. Listen to evacuation warnings. Okay? We recommend it. And I keep showing you this. We recommend everyone have an AM/FM weather radio. An AM/FM weather radio. If you only have AM/FM radios, tune your radio to a news talk station where they have news, weather, and sports on their radio station. Tune your radios to that station. If you have an AM/FM weather radio, tune your weather radio to your local weather station. That will give you the latest wind, rain, and other reports from the Weather Service. However, during an emergency, your local government can supersede the Weather Service, and they will broadcast emergency warnings on your weather radio network. Okay? That's why it's so important to have an AM/FM weather radio. Okay? This is very important. This is a very important piece of equipment that you need to have. In a national emergency, the national government will open up a sector where they can tap in to the National Weather Service weather system, where they can broadcast on the weather network where you're at, giving you the latest emergency information that the federal government has. But while a fire is in progress, your local government can broadcast on the Weather Service and give you the latest information. That's why it's so important. But again, an evacuation warning means to get ready to leave. An evacuation warning means to get ready to leave. If you need extra time, to leave because of children, older adults, people with access or functional problems, or pets or livestock, then leave during an evacuation warning. Leave during an evacuation warning. That way you're not under orders to get out. Then it's too late. The fire is getting to the point where it's going to engulf your home. You don't want to wait to that point in time. Leave during an evacuation warning. An evacuation order means just that. Leave immediately. Leave immediately. Don't wait because your life or your family are in danger. Get out during the evacuation warning. To find exit routes and safe shelters during a wildfire, call your local or county authorities. Your local or county authorities. Know that the public disaster shelters are free, and no one can ask you for an ID. Reach out ahead to see where shelters may better serve people with disabilities or pets. If you become trapped by fire, call 911 and tell them where you're at. That way rescuers can know where to find you. Turn on your lights in your home or your vehicle headlights and your emergency flashers. That way the authorities are coming out to help you will know where you're at. Help me not be able to reach you or come quickly. That's why evacuating early is very important. Now I have some helpful hints here. If you're able to return home, return your home after a wildfire. I want to give you some hints of what to do. Stay away until officials say it's okay. Then when you're able to return home after a wildfire, check anywhere in and around your home and make sure that embers have been doused. Make sure embers have been doused. Any hot spots have been doused. You may want to go out with your hose around your yard, your property, and wet it down, making sure any hot spots are no longer hot. That way you're not going to burn yourself as well. If anyone was to go out in your yard after a wildfire, there may be a hot ember on the ground. You don't want to have that. Wet down the ground after you get home and are allowed to be there. Okay? Hot spots can prove very dangerous to humans, pets, and children. Hot spots can be very dangerous, prove very dangerous to humans and structures. When you're able to return home after a fire, check anywhere in and around your home that was exposed to embers. Hot spots on the ground, again, can prove very dangerous to humans, structures, and pets. The Malibu fire evacuations and road closures. Fire officials have said that the evacuation area encompasses about 6,000 people and more than 2,000 structures. The evacuation warning area covers 12,500 people and more than 6,000 structures. Mandatory evacuations. South of Piuma Road, north of the Pacific Ocean coastline, east of Puerto Canyon Road, Coral Canyon Park, west of Las Flores Canyon Road, between Pacific Ocean coastline and Tuna Canyon Park, to the west of Tuna Canyon Road. Evacuation warnings. East of Troncas Canyon Road, Troncas spelled Trancas, east of Troncas Canyon Road, and Kanan Dune Road, Kanan Kanandune Road, east of Troncas Canyon Road and Kanan Dune Road, west of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, Surfview Drive, south of Mulholland Highway, north of the evacuation order boundary, including Topanga Canyon Zone 8 and 10. Road closures. Pacific Coast Highway is closed between Tuna Canyon Road to Kanan Dune Road, according to Caltrans. PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, westbound to John Tyler, is open. Pacific Coast Highway westbound from John Tyler is open, but any vehicle that leaves the Pepperdine campus in that direction will not be able to return, as Pacific Coast Highway is closed eastbound. Topanga Canyon Boulevard is closed to all but local traffic. Malibu Canyon Road is closed from Mulholland Drive to Pacific Coast Highway. Nearly 3 square miles of trees and dry brush have burned, and structures were threatened. More than 30 hours after the Franklin fire erupted in Malibu, there have been no reports of looting or burglaries at homes and businesses in the evacuation area. Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna said today that if, and this came out last night as an order from Sheriff Luna, if you were to go there and begin looting, you would be under condemnation, and authorities would look at you very harshly. Don't do it. Do not go to any businesses or homes and try to begin looting. You will be dealt with harshly. Sheriff Luna provided the update during remarks at a morning news conference today. Yesterday, a news conference, the sheriff issued a stern warning to any thieves or intruders who might consider taking advantage of the situation. Don't do it. You will be dealt with very harshly. Firefighters have managed to gain some ground today. Again, the Franklin fire now has been 7% contained. The Santa Ana winds that fueled the flames when it started have died down. Yes. Okay, bye. Sorry, I got a wrong number. I thought that was important, that's why I took it. Now, firefighters may manage to maintain some ground here. The Franklin fire is 7% contained. The Santa Ana winds that fueled the flames when it started on Monday have significantly weakened. But the danger for low humidity levels still exists, and that low humidity levels remain very much a concern. That's why the authorities are not backing down on the evacuation areas and the evacuation warnings. You need to heed these warnings. If an official gives you an emergency evacuation warning, get everything together and get out. If you're under orders, get out then, right then. Do not wait. Do not wait. About 10 years ago, I lived in American Fork, Utah. There was a fire coming down the canyon, and it was getting very bad. As an emergency manager, I went over to one of my brother-in-law's houses to help him get out. As it turns out, he was there with his wife and daughter, and they didn't want to leave their home. And I said, you are under a mandatory evacuation warning. You need to get out right now. And I began carrying some of his things out to their car. And he was trying to bring them back in. And I'm saying, you touch one thing, it'll be to your detriment. It'll be to your detriment. Don't do that. The things that you have in your car are very necessary for your safety and for your health of your family. But it was not until a sheriff's deputy from Utah County came to his house and told him to get out. Even then he questioned the deputy, and the deputy said, do you want me to take you out, or do you want to just leave? It was only then that even my own brother-in-law was not even hardly listening, but he finally left. And as I exited American Fork Canyon, following him out, I was stopped at the emergency evacuation center, where there was an incident command post. And I was asked to stay at that emergency command post for 48 hours. My dear wife brought food and other things to me at the evacuation center command post, so I could have food and clothing to change into for the next 2 days. But that's what happens. If you are under a mandatory evacuation order, get out. If you have a warning, gather your things and get out. Gather your things and get out before the order is given. Get out. As Don Patoki just put up in the chat, mental skills are much more important than physical skills in many situations. And that's what we're talking about right now. Okay? As my brother-in-law learned, it's not good enough to just be right. You also need to be effective. And he was not being effective. And I was there to help him get out, and he didn't even want to leave. If you're told to leave, do it. Do it. Don't question authorities. Do it. You could go to jail. You could go to jail. Now, does anybody have any questions for me? Joe Shinpaw is asking, has there been any other activity around Mount St. Helens or further south? I'm going to say Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier to the north and down all the way into Northern California with Mount Shasta and Mount Lassen. No, there hasn't been any great change. However, given that, before I play the next video for you, given that information, Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta, and to some extent Mount Hood, activity has increased, and I've been pointing that out. But Mount Hood is not under huge change right now. Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are getting ready to erupt. And I'm not saying it's an emergency evacuation point right now. It's not. However, you need to know that those volcanoes are getting ready to go. Every day there are 2.5 to 3.5 earthquakes at the volcano. That means magma has entered the magma chamber of the volcano, causing fracturing of the rock inside the volcano, which is causing earth movement, i.e. earthquakes. Okay? There's plenty of information to know. Those two volcanoes are getting ready to erupt. And yet, USGS is not saying word one about it. Nothing. They're not denying what I'm telling you. They're not denying what I'm telling you. However, they're also not saying anything more about it. You need to think about what I'm saying here. You need to really think what I'm saying here. When Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, USBS had given an evacuation warning at one point. And then things calmed down for a little bit, for a day or two. And then all of a sudden, it erupted. While things had calmed down, USGS allowed people to return back to their homes on the side of the mountain. They even sent one of their scientists up on the side of the mountain. He ended up dying, along with almost 60 other people, because USGS is dumb. They're dumb in the head. They should have known what was going on. And even now, they're playing games here. It's been 44 years since that eruption. Yes, there was a smaller eruption about 2003. But USGS has still not learned the lesson. I'm not calling for any evacuation around that mountain. However, I am telling everybody, you need to get everything together. If you live anywhere near Mount St. Helens, you need to have your emergency preparedness kits ready to go. You need to have your emergency preparedness kits ready to go. You need to have a plan to get off the mountain and get off the mountain now. I'm not saying to leave right now. I'm saying you have to have a plan. You need a plan, folks. Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens are getting ready to erupt. Mount Hood, not so much. Glacier Peak, not so much. Even some of the volcanoes up in Canada are steaming. Even some of the volcanoes in Canada are steaming. What's that mean, guys? What does that mean? Steaming is a thing to pay attention to. Steaming of the volcano is a thing to be paying attention to. Even Mount Shasta has been steaming off and on. But Mount Lassen to the south is steaming even more. And there's plenty of information to suggest that Mount Lassen is also getting ready to erupt. I'm just telling you. You need to pay attention to what we're saying here. And I'm very serious about that. You need to be paying attention. Because if you're not, you're going to be caught unaware because the United States Geological Survey is stupid. They're stupid, guys. And I'm smart enough to say it. There's some people, there's some YouTube creators, they're not willing to call a spade a spade. They know what they're doing, but they're not willing to put it out. Folks, when I first started on the air, I was very cautious what I would say about the USBS. But over the past 5 years, 5.5 years, I've seen what USGS does and doesn't do. And as I've showed you even last night, they are not reporting earthquakes that they should. And I've been pointing that out. I've been pointing that out for a very long time. Even in areas that we should be concerned about. They're not even showing earthquakes. And when they do, it's not as many as they should. They should be very concerned about what's going on. Because they know that there is a major earthquake coming to the Pacific coast. To the Pacific coast, guys. A major earthquake. Now, we talked about it. We've talked about that major earthquake that happened off the southern side of the Cascadia subduction zone. Then what happened 4 days later? What happened 4 days later? There was a 5.8 earthquake in Nevada. Now, they may say, and they have, that there's no connection to the earthquake that happened on the Gorda Escarpment off the coast of Northern California and what happened over near Carson City, Nevada. Yerington, Nevada. They said there's no connection. There is. There is. Folks, we are going to continue to have major earthquakes. We're going to continue having very large earthquakes. You need to be knowing what's going on. I'm asking everybody to subscribe to this channel because very few others are paying attention. We're going to tell you what happens. We're going to very much tell you what's going on. And I'm not going to dice the potatoes. I'm going to tell you the situation, and I'm going to be very candid about it. At least there's someone here that's being honest about the situation. Okay? I'm just telling you about it. Now, someone here is mentioning the solar flares here, and that's fine. Because the solar flares are all connected to even these earthquakes and the volcanoes. Very much connected. The solar flares can give you a headache. The solar flares can give you a headache. The plasma radiation coming from the sun goes through the Earth's magnetosphere. And it has altered the Earth's magnetosphere and made it very weak. The solar flares have also taken out satellites that have been orbiting the Earth. Taking them out. If the solar plasma radiation can take out a satellite out of Earth's orbit, and if the plasma radiation can reach down through our atmosphere and go down into the plates of the Earth, down even into the molten center of the Earth, it's going to hurt you as well. And I can't say necessarily hurt. It's going to have an effect on you and every other living thing on this Earth, including your animals, cats, dogs, squirrels, whatever it might be. It's going to have an effect on them as well. If you have outdoor animals, make sure they can have a shelter to get out of the direct influence of the sun when it's happening. That way they have some protection. I'm just saying. You need to really consider your animals as well. And I kid you not. Every living thing, including plants, is affected by the solar radiation. Let me give you a for instance. Earlier this summer, I had a tomato plant and other plants growing on my patio. Well, guess what? We had about a week or so of solar radiation that was really bad. And the plants, some of my tomato plants and my other plants completely got torched by the sun. And yes, I had provided plenty of water for those plants, but the radiation burned the leaves. The radiation from the sun burned the leaves, and there was nothing I could do to protect it. Okay? So yes, even the plants can be affected. Now, when talking about this, you need to prepare for future events. Don Patoka just put that in the chat. Some folks don't prepare for future events. They go about their lives as normal as it could be and don't think about it. They spend their money. They have their laziness sitting in front of the TV, watching whatever on the television, blindness to anything going on around them, including political strife. And there's plenty of that. But they're blind to what's going on around them. They don't get it. And then what happens when all crap hits a fan? Or the crap hits the oscillator? They run around like their heads are cut off. Because they haven't had a plan. They haven't paid attention. They have not paid attention. Last night, for a brief time, yesterday evening, during our program, I talked about having a plan. I talked about having an emergency preparedness kit. Back in 2014, again, I'm going to repeat it. Back in 2014, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency that I now despise, asked one question of all emergency managers all across the United States. One question only. How many of us had a 72-hour kit? Basically, an emergency preparedness kit for 72 hours, 3 days. A week or so later, the results of the survey came out. Only 25% of emergency managers had a preparedness kit. And yet, all of us emergency managers across the U.S. should not have only had a kit, but FEMA had been telling us for years to instruct everyone within our boundaries of our cities or towns or our counties to have a kit in case of emergency. But how many paid attention? 75% of emergency managers went about their way not talking about it. And as a result, their cities, the residents and people that live within their city and county boundaries, also did not have an emergency preparedness kit. I asked the same question on my Facebook page. I've now had 11 replies. I've had several people that have said they didn't have a kit at all. They hadn't even thought of it. Some people hadn't even thought about it. I'm telling you right now, I've been preaching to have a 72-hour kit and have an emergency kit and an emergency preparedness plan, and water. Water storage in your homes, in your patios, in your yards. Food storage and water in your yards or homes. I've been talking about it for a very, very long time. You need to do it, folks. The time is now. Not tomorrow, the next day, now. You need to do it now. How many more times do I need to say now? If you don't prepare, you're going to be out. And you may lose your life. And your family members may also lose their lives. I don't want to have that on my conscience. Now, this may sound very hardcore. I'm very serious about this. I want to be very serious about this. The people in Malibu have lost their homes. 7 structures have been completely burned down to the ground. 9 others have been damaged. So far, no lives have been lost. So far. But how many people have lost everything now? Because they didn't pay attention. They didn't think about the dangers. People who live in the hills, people who live in mountain communities should know that they live in a very dangerous area. That they live in a very dangerous area. Because they can have a fire that destroys everything they have at a moment's notice. You need to have the things you need. Not just to live on a day-to-day basis. You need the things you need forever. If you use something, replace it. If you use something, replace it. Put the new product in back of the old. That way you're always using good material. You're always eating good food that is not gone bad. Check the dates on all your food packages and your cans. Just because the can is expired does not mean that the can is bad food. Best buy date is just that. The best buy. Okay? The can might still be good. The package might still be good for quite a while. The other night, I made a casserole for my wife and I. It was a package of food that I used that had been a best buy date of almost a year before. The food was still good. The best buy made it just that. Best by that date. It doesn't mean the food is bad. The food is still good. But check your dates. Use that food in packages or cans that has a date that's either just passed or is going to go past very soon. Use that food and replace it with new food with a better date. Okay? That's called rotation. Keep your stuff in rotation, including medicine. Prescription medicine and other medicine. Okay? Please do that. Please do that. Now, my buddy Don Patoga also said this, and yes, I do refer to Don a lot. But he provides good information for everybody. That's why I refer back to him quite a bit, and as well as others too. But Don just said this, and it's very applicable to what I'm talking about, because I personally have heard this. Someone the other day just told me, I can't do this. Really? You can't do this? or that you've never done it before. If you've never done it before, maybe you should try. My father and mother used to say, can't is the word meaning that you're not willing to try. Can't means you're not willing to try. Do it. You probably will be able to do it. Because of what my parents told me, whenever anyone in my life has told me, you can't do that, Ron, I said, really? I can and I will. Watch me. Unless it's something that might endanger my life or my family's life, then I might take and think about it. But if they're telling me I can't do it, guess what? I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. That's the bottom line. You need to know that. I live by that. Don't tell me I can't do something, because I will. I will do that. Now, Sleeping Volcano is talking about drones and things that could happen. For example, drones, they would just watch until we are attacked, like Pearl Harbor. A lot of people at Pearl Harbor just watched themselves being attacked before they even moved. Before they even moved. I've seen the videos. I've seen the movie. The movie was pretty much spot on, except they used some movie tactics to make it look more romantic and even more dangerous than it was. And yes, it was a dangerous situation there at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. But you need to be concerned about your own selves, your own locations where you live. Diane Kelman says, I'm worried about all those drones over the East Coast. Yes, there are drones everywhere. I'm telling you, there are drones all over the United States. There's drones all over the world. Everybody that's watching this program from around the world needs to be very much aware of drones around them. As I told somebody else, and I may get in a lot of trouble by saying this, if you have a drone watching me, and I think there's a very good chance that I can shoot it down, I'm going to do it. Don't have a drone up watching me, because I will shoot it down. There has to be some good reason for a drone to be up watching me, because I'll take it out. I promise you that. I will take it out. I'll engage it. I'll engage it. Because I will not allow whatever agency, whether it's a government agency or some other country, endanger my family's life. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm prepared. I'm very prepared. I'm not as prepared as I want to be, but I'm prepared. And my wife and I can last a long time without even going to the store again. Yes, she might complain, oh, we need to get this, we need to get that. Yes, not a problem. Not a problem. But if we can't go to the store, it's no big deal. Not a big deal, because we have what we need. We have what we need. It's when you don't have what you need, you need to be very concerned. And yes, there are a lot of people in that situation. Catherine Sigerson said some of her kids think that she has mental illness. Well, guess what? There are some people that think I have a mental illness because I believe in being prepared. Katie Sunshine is here saying, what do I take out a drone with? I have sufficient one, I have sufficient knowledge to do it. Number two, I have the present ability to do it as well. Okay? I'm not going to use the word I want to use, but I'm going to say it backwards. NUG. N-U-G. If I have a NUG and I am able to engage a target, I'm going to do it to save my life or somebody else's. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I'm not going to let your life or mine be in danger because someone wants to be up and watching us. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Richard Smith says a sling can take out a drone. Yes, if you practice with it. If you practice with a sling and become very good, yes, it can happen. Just like me with a NUG. I've been an instructor. I've been a NUG instructor. I was an instructor for my former police department. I taught civilians how to use them. Not a problem. But if I have the ability and I feel threatened, look out. Look out. And Hermit's here in the chat saying, until they market a directional EMP cannon. Yeah. And in that case, I'm going to say, go ahead. Just like a Clint Eastwood movie said before. Go ahead. Make my day. Did I shoot 3, 4, or did I shoot 5? Go ahead, make my day. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Go ahead, make my day. Because I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. And most of the people I used to work with believe the same thing. We have no problem with it. I've trained for it. But you have to continue training. If you've never used a NUG before and you try to use it to protect yourself, you may get hurt. You may have a bad guy take it away from you and use it on yourself. Be careful. Know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. I don't know how many times I've said that before, but know what you're doing. Now I said it in a row 3 times. That means you need to pay attention to what I'm saying. And yes, you may consider this a class. Because if I say something 3 times, I mean it. Train. Train, train, and train. The same with bow and arrows and snarl lines. Train, train, train until you become very good, and then train some more. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And that's the same thing I'm saying about Cascadia. I trained on it. I prepared. I know what I'm talking about. I've been around earthquakes. I've been around earthquakes. I've seen the agency screw around and not tell people what's going on, either before or after the fact. Well, guess what? Their loss. Their loss. Hopefully, something that they've done might be saved. Maybe we'll save some lives. That's why I do what I do. Katie Sunshine says, well, I'm in a crap hits a fan scenario. I understand that. And I'm talking about the same thing. I'm talking about the same thing. Now, before I get dragged off into Never Never Land, I want to play another video for you, and I'm serious about this. This is the last video I'm going to talk about with this Franklin fire in Malibu, California, at least today. We may see another video, talk about it tomorrow, but this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. unless something major happens tonight. Watch this short video here. It's only a little less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, Mark, when this fire broke out last night and Air 7 reached the scene overhead, one of the first areas of properties that we were concerned about were the properties around Sarah Retreat and the retreat itself. But little did we know, at that very moment, 3 men put a high-powered hose into their pool and got to work, saving their home, saving their neighbors' homes, and very likely saving the retreat as well. That is Abel Rogers at 2 a.m. last night on the roof of his Malibu home with a high-powered hose fighting back the Franklin fire.
You just kind of kick into action and do what you have to do, avoid the smoke, wrap something around your face right, and just hope you can get it taken care of.
Things got pretty dicey overnight with flames and showers of embers encroaching for hours.
Just fierce. It almost had an apocalyptic kind of glow to it, and it was scary.
The fire was coming in, it was blazing. Everywhere you looked, there was fire. I mean, it seemed like there was no way out.
The 2 men and a third friend were up all night making sure their home and their neighbors' homes weren't lost. You said you still haven't slept?
No, I have not slept. I feel like I've entered into some different state, adrenaline, right? But I'm hoping to get some rest soon.
I just can't sleep. That was a crazy night. We started at 11, went until like 2 p.m. and then have kind of just been like going around today and just checking on everyone.
Some weren't so lucky. Just up the hill from their Sarah Retreat adjacent property were scenes like this. Several homes and cottages burned to the ground. About a half a mile west, multiple vehicles burned, including several Porsches and a vintage pickup truck. But this is said without exaggeration. Without the heroic effort of these 3 men last night, more would have been lost.
I'm putting myself at risk. If things got real bad, I definitely would have gotten out of here, but I think we managed things pretty well, and so that didn't have to happen.
Boy, did they manage things well, and this was after everyone had evacuated in that area. They stuck around, made sure that they saved those homes. What a great job by those 3. Now, Alec told us he was really looking forward to seeing his story told tonight at 11 o'clock, but if they are watching us right now, that means they would have been up for 40 straight hours, much of that spent frantically working to save homes. So hopefully we can say they are not watching us right now and sleeping and maybe catch us in the morning.
Okay? Maybe we'll catch them tomorrow morning. But hopefully those men are safe still and they've gotten some sleep. Hopefully. But they were prepared. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You need to be ready. You need to be ready to act. Those gentlemen were right smack dab on the money. They were ready to act, and they did. This is all I'm asking all of you. Be ready to prepare. Be ready to act. Be ready to act. Don't tell or have somebody tell you you're not going to do it. If they tell you you can't do it, they're just waiting for you to mock them. They're just waiting for you to show them it can be done. Now, I'm not asking you to put your lives on the line. I'm not asking you to put your lives on the line. But I'm asking you to be prepared. Be prepared to do whatever you can to save your lives and the lives of those around you. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? I don't know how much more I can say about that, except be prepared. It's not just a scout motto. It's not just a Boy Scout motto. It's a way of life. You need to make this a way of life. And I'm serious about it. I'm dead serious about it. Yes, those guys are heroes, but they had prepared. I will bet you that they had preparedness kits. They had a plan, didn't they? They exercised their plan. Where'd the hoses come from? They had them there. They had them there. They had a plan, they worked their plan, and they were heroes as a result. I'm asking you to do what you can to save your lives. Yes, you can be a hero for your family. And that is all that I'm asking you to do. To be a hero for your family. Now, I want to talk about Cascadia. Again, up here in the subduction zone, where it says Cascadia, that is just south of the Juan de Fuca, or Strait of Juan de Fuca. That waterway coming in off the Pacific Ocean, going over to Seattle, Washington, that's called the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Just west of there is called the Cascadia subduction zone, and just west of that is called the Juan de Fuca plate, or the plate of Juan de Fuca, or the Juan de Fuca fault, an earthquake fault. It's a plate. Now, what's happening? What is going to happen when the Cascadia subduction zone releases with a major earthquake? Scientists are saying it could be a 9.0 to a 10.0 megathrust earthquake, meaning the Juan de Fuca plate, the Cascadia subduction zone, it's going to unleash a huge earthquake. The Earth is going to go up underneath the North American plate. The Strait of Juan de Fuca, the Pacific plate, and the Cascadia subduction zone are subducting underneath the North American plate. This area near Vancouver Island and Seattle, Washington is where the earthquake is liable to happen, where the major earthquake is liable to happen. But the shaking is going to be felt all the way up to Alaska and all the way down to northern Mexico. All the way down to northern Mexico. We keep witnessing earthquakes in this area. But we also keep witnessing earthquakes up and down the entire coastline of North America. Just like we saw last week. Just like we saw last Thursday, when we had a 7.2 earthquake on the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. The subduction zone region. Let me show you the EMA, the USGS map. Again. Let me take my mug off here. Let me take my banner off of here. I want to show you this map. We are continuing to have earthquakes here in the southern subduction zone. We're continuing to have swarms of earthquakes here. Okay? The earthquake fault that goes north away from northern California here, it's called the Cascadia subduction zone. It runs all the way up to British Columbia, Canada, to Haida Gwaii, or what they used to call Queen Charlotte Island. Okay? All the way up here to Queen Charlotte Island. There's Queen Charlotte Island. The Cascadia subduction zone goes all the way up there, as well as the Juan de Fuca plate. See that zigzag earthquake fault? That's the Juan de Fuca plate, or the Juan de Fuca fault. Both fault lines go all the way up to Queen Charlotte Island, or Haida Gwaii. Okay? But we come back down here to this area where we see the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and we see Vancouver, and we see Seattle-Tacoma area. This is where the earthquake will probably originate from. We have seen earthquakes up and down the fault line, up and down both fault lines. The Strait of Juan de Fuca, or not the Strait, the Plate of Juan de Fuca, and the Cascadia subduction zone, and the Cascadia subduction zone region. Down here to the south, this perpendicular line here runs between the Juan de Fuca Plate and the Gorda Ridge. This horizontal line here is the Blanco fracture zone. We have had many earthquakes here, including last week, 3.0, 3.5. We've also had 5.0 large earthquakes here on the Blanco fracture zone. Down here, this vertical line here coming out of the Blanco fracture zone, guys, is the Gorda Ridge. The Gorda Ridge continues south until it reaches the Gorda Escarpment. This area here has also had earthquakes. This Gorda Escarpment area runs east and west away from the Northern California coastline. Over here on the eastern side next to the coastline, it comes in contact with the Cascadia subduction zone, running to the north. Also joins the San Andreas Fault here. This area is called the Triple Junction. As you can see, we are continuing to have earthquakes here. Swarms of earthquakes. Some of the largest ones are like this. This is a 3.4 small earthquake. This is a 3.5 small earthquake. This is a 3.4 here. While these are small earthquakes, they are just as a result, they are aftershocks of the 7.2 earthquake that hit here last Thursday. We continue to have earthquakes here. And these earthquakes are going to last for quite a while. We're going to continue to see swarms here for weeks, months, and possibly years after the 7.2 hit here. Why am I saying that? Because the ground is going to continue trying to return to the point it was or it occupied before the major earthquake happened. Okay? That is why we're going to continue to see swarms here. All of you need to be aware of it, because this is going to continue to happen. OG needs to pay attention to what we're saying here. One of my mods took your post down. If you're not paying attention to what we're saying, my mods are under orders to take your post down. If you are using nothing but capital letters, my mods will take your post down. You need to abide by our rules here. You need to abide by our rules here. I want you to be paying attention to what I am saying. Not go off half-cocked to talk about your dinner you're going to have tonight or later tonight or tomorrow. I don't want to talk about volcanoes right now. We talked about volcanoes a few whiles ago. Right now we're talking about earthquakes. Yes, there is a possibility that we're going to have volcanic action very soon. I've said that. I'm talking about a major earthquake here. I do not believe that the 7.2 earthquake here in the southern Cascadia subduction zone is going to be the last one here. I believe it may be a foreshock. I believe that 7.2 magnitude earthquake could be a foreshock. There's a 25% chance that any earthquake could be a foreshock of something larger. Remember that. Any earthquake that can happen could be a foreshock of a much larger earthquake. There's a 25% chance of that happening. I want you to pay attention. Okay? I'm watching what OGOG said. He says he's in several lives. Well, if you're in this live, I want you to pay attention. It's okay to be watching other people. I'm not saying you can't. But on this chat, you need to pay attention to what we're saying, please. Okay? What I am saying matters. What I am saying is that matters very much so. Okay? And there's a reason I'm talking about it. There's a reason I'm talking about this. Richard Smith is saying this is Ron's house. It is. This is my house, my rules. But it goes far beyond that. YouTube makes some rules that I have to abide by, that all of you also have to abide by. For example, all caps. If YouTube sees somebody do that, they may take you down and they may ban you from being on YouTube. I've seen it done. YouTube has its moderators. Their moderators monitor different chats in different places all day long. I've seen them in my programs where they've gotten rid of people. Be Real Beast just gave us another $20 super chat. Be Real, thank you for that. God bless you. I'm giving you an EMA sticker on your super chat, and I'm also giving you a thumbs up for that. We appreciate that. It helps keep this program on the air. When I first started broadcasting 5.5 years ago, I didn't realize that it costs money to keep these programs on the air. And I believe that what we're talking about is very important. And I put out a lot of money every month to keep this program on the air. And I appreciate all of you who help support me so I can continue to do that. It's not just me, it's my wife. She wants me to do this program as well. She reminds me every day of things I need to talk about. She reminds me sometimes she writes it down, meaning she means what I'm saying, what she's saying. And yes, I do talk about those things that she talks about. She reminds me, you need to be on the air very soon. You need to be in your office working. I'm working whether I'm in my office or not. I'm working all the time. Yes, I'm doing things for Carol, but I'm also working on our program. Kristen Castle saying, Ron, what is a continental megathrust earthquake? A continental megathrust earthquake. Let me back this map out. Okay? A continental megathrust earthquake. A megathrust earthquake is an earthquake where the Pacific plate or the Cascadia subduction zone, which is in the water just off the west coast, subducts underneath the continent. The plate is subducting underneath the continent. When we have a megathrust, it means subduction. Remember, megathrust and subduction are interchangeable. Okay? This is going to be an intercontinental megathrust earthquake. It's going to shake the entire continent. It's going to shake the entire continent. Let me back out of this map just really quickly. No, I'm not going to back out of the map. I'm sorry. I'm going to put up the webcam. I want to show you what I mean by a megathrust earthquake. Okay? The subduction zone going underneath the North American continent like this. Just like this. Now in this case, the Pacific Plate and the Cascadia subduction zone are taking a deep dive underneath the North American continent. Taking a deep dive under the North American continent. Usually, the Cascadia subduction zone travels about 14 centimeters a year. That's about 4 or 5 inches a year. But when was the last time that there was a major earthquake here? 324 years ago. 324 years ago. We are overdue. We are overdue for this earthquake. We are overdue with this earthquake. It's going to happen. It can happen imminently. It can happen imminently. Last year, just north of the Cascade, or not the Cascade, north of the San Andreas Fault here, just off the coast of Northern California, there was a 6.8 earthquake. That 6.8 earthquake did a lot of damage. It actually killed one person. It was actually also not a 6.8, it was a 7.4. USBS called it a 6.8. But again, it was between the Cascadia subduction zone that you see right here, the Cascadia subduction zone that you see right here, and over here where you see California. It was right in that water between the Cascadia subduction zone and Northern California. They said it was a 6.8 earthquake, but I show you scientific evidence that it was a 7.4. There was damage in Ferndale, there was damage in Petrolia, there was damage in Rio Del and one other community there in Northern California. It disrupted roads. There were fissures that opened up in the ground. It knocked buildings off their foundations. It destroyed properties. Now we just got through having a 7.2 earthquake, and USGS downgraded to 7.0. That earthquake was at least 7.2 earthquake. And we are still having aftershocks. We are still having aftershocks. And I believe those aftershocks are going to continue. And I believe we're going to have another major earthquake. I believe we're going to have another major earthquake. Now, let's go over here to Nevada. See all that landmass between where we had that major earthquake the other day and this earthquake here? Look at this, guys. Look at this. We are still having tons of aftershocks here. And this was a 5.8 earthquake. They say this was a 5.8 earthquake. Let me tell you this. I showed you what the USGS showed us. I believe they altered the data. I showed you the data. All of the seismographs recorded this seismic event. And they said that it was only a 5.8 earthquake. Well, guess what? They altered the data, and I can prove it. Okay? Now this earthquake, yes, there is an earthquake fault here, but I'm telling you right now, this earthquake in Nevada and the 7.2 earthquake that happened off the coast of Northern California are related. We would not have had this 5.8 here in Nevada if we hadn't had the 7.2. They're going to continue. They're going to continue. OGOG is asking, let's not pretend it can't occur. It can. Yes, it can. The volcanoes can. OGO, I may take you off my chat again because you're not paying frickin' attention. You're asking why the plates shift. We've talked about that before as well. Every plate around this world is shifting. 7 different plates down in Indonesia, one of the largest subduction zones in the world. 7 different tectonic plates are moving. That's why there are so many earthquakes there. And yes, there were 2 5.0 and larger earthquakes down in Indonesia today. But 7 different tectonic plates moving down there. There are tectonic plates shifting everywhere. Without tectonic plates moving, we would not have volcanoes erupting. We would not have volcanoes erupting. Please pay attention, or I'm going to have my mods remove your chats. I'm talking about where we're at here in the Cascadia subduction zone and over in Nevada right now. You need to pay attention. There's a reason for it. OGOG says he's not asking a question, he's making a statement. Yes, you made a statement. But you're detracting from what we're talking about here. You need to pay attention. I just removed that chat. You need to pay attention to what I'm saying. Catherine Sigerson is here in the chat saying what scares her is a tank of oxygen that she's on here. Not sure if it's empty. You should have a valve on top of your oxygen tank. And there should be a valve there saying how much oxygen is in that tank. If it's out, there's no more oxygen in it. If you don't see or feel any oxygen coming out of that line, then the tank is empty. Katie's saying, Lord Jesus, come take us home soon. Now, I don't necessarily want us to go home soon. But what I am going to tell you is this. I believe the Lord is going to take us at some point in time. It could be imminent. But what I'm also saying is there is a time to try to save your life. And I'm trying to give you information to do that. I'm trying to make you aware of what's going on. Jim Leacombe says he's near the New Madrid, but on the Ozark Plateau, solid rock. Jim, I'm going to tell you about the New Madrid right now, even though I'm not talking about the New Madrid per se right at this point in time. The New Madrid fault is going to give way within the next 2 years. And being on the Ozark Plateau, you're going to see solid rock move. you're going to experience major shaking. You will experience major shaking. The entire New Madrid Fault is moving right now. Every week we talk about the New Madrid Fault. I show you evidence. I show you seismograms, which are the computer readouts from the seismograph computers, showing you the activity on the New Madrid Fault. 5.5 years ago, there wasn't much of anything. Just tremors. 1.0, 1.5, 1.2, 1.7 tremors. That was all that's going on every day, anywhere up and down the fault. But now, within the last 3 years, we've gone from tremors to minor earthquakes, and from minor earthquakes to small earthquakes to moderate 4.0, 4.9 earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. No, we haven't had a 4.9, but we've had a 4.5. Several 4.5s. Some of the 4.5s USGS has not said anything about. But I've shown you the seismographs showing what's happened. Just like I've shown you the seismograms up and down the Cascadia subduction zone. The earthquakes are happening. And they're going to continue to happen. I promise you that. Earthquakes are going to continue. There will be a major earthquake on the New Madrid Fault within the next 2 years, and it may happen sooner than that. The Cascadia subduction zone that we've been talking about tonight, scientists are saying it could happen in 15 to 25 years. I'm telling you right now, with the evidence that we have, the seismograms showing us what is going on, the tremors and the earthquakes, it's telling us that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to happen within the next 5 years. But between now and then, we will continue having major earthquakes up and down the entire fault zone. And right now, last year and this past Thursday, we have seen 2 major earthquakes happen. That 6.8 that was actually 7.4 last year, and this 7.2 earthquake that hit the other day. This is going to continue. I promise you that. It's going to continue. And that earthquake that happened just the other day, is synonymous with this earthquake in Nevada. You need to be aware of that. We may see more earthquakes like that. Oh, gee, I'm going to suspend you for the night. You want to talk about Iceland, do so when I'm talking about Iceland. But you're not. You're playing games here. So I'm done with you for the night. You can come back at another time. OG's been suspended for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes we'll be leaving the air. Troll, troll, troll. It wasn't if I didn't warn him, I did. He wants to play games, I got rid of him. And the next time if he tries to play games, he'll be gone permanently. Crack-a-doodle. But folks, what I'm talking about is this. We're seeing these huge swarms in Nevada. That's because this earthquake was a very strong earthquake. Thousands of people felt this earthquake. all the way over to San Francisco, and all the way up to Utah, and even Idaho felt this earthquake. A big deal. A big deal. This earthquake I just highlighted was red. I turned it yellow just to show you where it was. This is a 1.4 tremor. Yes, we are having tremors. We're also having minor earthquakes. This is a 2.3. 2.3. We've also had 3.0s and 3.8s here today. Those earthquakes have been removed by the agency. Earthquakes have been removed by the agency. Again, they are not wanting us to see what is actually going on. They're playing games. This is a 1.3 earthquake here, a tremor. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. This is a 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.6 tremor as well. This is a 1.6 tremor. Yes, they are tremors, but these are a result. And even the 2.3 and the 3.5 and the 3.8 that were here earlier, they're aftershocks of a very large earthquake. And yes, it's done some damage out here. It has done some damage out here in Nevada. I believe we're going to see even more. I believe we're going to see even more. What do you need to know? This earthquake was a result of the earthquake over in the Cascadia subduction zone region. We're going to continue to see these. Promise you. I promise you they're going to continue to be here. This down here is a 1.2 tremor here. Okay? They're going to continue here. Now, while these aftershocks are nothing to be really concerned about, other than you should know what's going on. Because the earth is still moving, and it can still move. Any one of these aftershocks could be a systemic of a large earthquake. They have a 25% chance of being a strong earthquake as a result of any one of these tremors. We can still get another 5.0. We can still see a 5.0 here. It can happen. You need to be aware of it. But because of what happened the other day, last Thursday, over in the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, we probably are going to see more earthquakes like this in Nevada. Okay? Or anywhere in California. Now, right here, this is just north of Monterey Bay. This is Portola, California. This is quite a distance from the Cascadia subduction zone region here, where all those earthquakes happened. But down here in Portola Valley, this is a 1.7 tremor. Further north on the east side of the San Francisco Bay, this is a 2.2 earthquake near Vallejo, California. This is on the Hayward Fault. Are we going to continue to see earthquakes here? Yes, absolutely. What happened here in the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone could trigger a major earthquake down here in San Francisco. What happened here in the northern part of California here, in the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, had pools in San Francisco that were throwing water out of the pools. That's how strong that earthquake was in the southern Cascadia subduction zone. It was felt all the way over here in the San Francisco as well. But we could still see a major earthquake hit in San Francisco. That is the other reason I'm talking about this. You need to be aware of it. Distinctly aware of it. Further south here, this is San Simeon, California. Ask Sagepup, who's been in this chat earlier tonight. He may still be here. Asking what it's like to have a 5.0 earthquake hit here in San Simeon, California. He and his girlfriend were vacationing here a few years ago when there was a very large earthquake. And I can't say very large. Very large is a 5.5 to a 5.9. They said there was a 5.1 here in San Simeon. Today here we had a 1.4 tremor here near San Simeon, California. Northeast of there on the San Andreas Fault. This is just north of Parkfield, California. This is a 2.0 earthquake. What did I show you here in Northern California here? Way up here to the north. What did I just get through showing you? A large group of earthquakes happening on the San Andreas Fault here off the coast of California. Right there. These earthquakes right here are on the San Andreas Fault. That means seismic energy is continuing to go south here on the San Andreas Fault, which means the San Andreas Fault that follows the coastline of Northern California all the way down here to San Francisco could trigger a very large earthquake here in San Francisco. They have not had a large earthquake here since 1989. 35 years ago. It could happen. And it could happen tonight, it could happen tomorrow, or it can happen very soon. Everybody here needs to be aware of it. Everybody here needs to be aware of it. But down here in Parkfield, California, Parkfield, California is the earthquake capital of North America and the earthquake capital of California. More earthquakes happen here than anywhere else. This was a 2.0 minor earthquake here today. Yes, nobody probably even felt that. However, you need to be aware of it. You need to be very aware of it. Yes, I expect more earthquakes even here in Parkfield. I expect more earthquakes here in Parkfield. And I'm serious about this. I'm very serious about this. Now, this is Parkfield, California itself. There are some restaurants, there are some homes, and there's a couple of several businesses in Parkfield, California. We just got through seeing a bunch of earthquakes in Northern California, just off the coast of California on the San Andreas Fault. And we've seen a bunch of other earthquakes before that on the San Andreas Fault. Seismic energy is going south. Seismic energy is going south. Why is Parkfield, California, the nation's earthquake capital? Parkfield, California is a quiet, dusty farming town, nestled among rolling hills, about midway between Fresno and Monterey Bay. It's known as the earthquake capital of the world. This is not because there's so many earthquakes there necessarily, although there are, but because it has one of the highest densities of seismic technology anywhere. They have more seismographs and other instruments here in Parkfield to monitor what's going on. Parkfield has shaken with the 6.0 earthquake regularly. Parkfield itself is shaken with the 6.0, which is a very strong earthquake, roughly every 22 years. Parkfield hasn't had an earthquake here in quite a major, I shouldn't say major, a very strong earthquake here in over that. So Parkfield, California is due. And it remains at the heart of one of the most seismically active areas of California, if not anywhere. And for what it's worth, Petrolia, California has had the most earthquakes. Petrolia, California has had the most earthquakes. The reason for the town's unusual seismic activity is very simple. It sits directly on the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault, the best known and one of the most active faults in the world. In the Parkfield area, the San Andreas Fault is constantly shifting. Millimeter by millimeter, centimeter by centimeter, day by day. This continuous movement is unique to the region, as the fault remains relatively locked in both the northern section around San Francisco and the southern section near Palmdale, California. Locked. Locked. What does that mean? Locked means there's so much energy there that at some point in time, any other agent or any other energy that comes through here could set it off. Could set it off. San Francisco Bay could have another major earthquake here any time. And what just happened here a few days ago off the coast of Northern California could be one of those times, because seismic energies slipping out of Northern California headed south down the San Andreas Fault. Now, while the fault in these other areas stays immobile, the central part near Parkfield steadily creeps, creating a contrast that puts pressure on the locked sections to the north and to the south. This area of this fault puts pressure on the locked sections over to San Francisco Bay and Palmdale, California, east of Los Angeles, to the south. Parkfield's main strip, stretching just a quarter mile, hosts a small collection of buildings, including a one-room schoolhouse, an elementary school. The USGS Berkeley Earthquake Monitoring Unit is there. A CAL FIRE fire station is there. The Parkfield Cafe and Lodge that I'm showing you here sits there on the outskirts of Parkfield. Just outside the cafe, a row of mismatched mailboxes serves a dozen or so homes that are scattered along the few dirt roads here in Parkfield, branching off the main street. Parkfield might be a small, obscure town to most Californians, but to geologists and all of you here, everybody needs to be fascinated with what's going on here. Fascinated by the workings of the earth. It's the epicenter of seismic research. The epicenter of seismic research. Now, guys, I'm very serious about this. I'm very serious. This is the San Andreas Fault. This is the San Andreas Fault here. Unreal, isn't it? Let me take down the USGS map so you can see it. That's the San Andreas Fault, guys. All the way down from Northern California, all the way down to Mexico. The San Andreas Fault. And with that fault comes a lot of earthquakes. And it can happen at any time. I'm telling you right now, it can happen at any time. Every hillside and valley, a grassy nook, or riverbed is home to some kind of instrument that measures earthquakes. Over the years, these instruments have become more sophisticated and expensive, making it necessary in some cases to fence them off with the threat of arrest, so nobody messes with them. These instruments monitor hour by hour, day by day, and second by second, everything going on up and down the San Andreas Fault. The stirring of the earth. This area is ground zero for seismic measurements. Parkfield, California is very proud of its reputation. Water tower that I just showed you boasts the tourism logo. Be here when it happens. Be here when it happens. Let me bring that back here. Be here when it happens. Let me enlarge this a bit so you can see it. It's a big deal. It's almost daring you to be there when the major earthquake hits. With a major, very large earthquake, it has its dangers. The earth could open up. If you're inside a building, it could destroy the building. Or it can shake you up really good. On one side of the creek that runs past here, runs beneath the bridge at the North American Tectonic Plate. Let me show you a picture of that. There's a bridge. See the bridge here? See the sign? Well, guess what? The sign moves. About every other week, they have to reposition the sign because it moves. It's slanting here to the left. It's moving. So does that bridge. The roads in this area move. They've had to reposition the roadways. They've had to re-asphalt the roads. There's a big curve right before the bridge because the tectonic plates are moving. On the western side of the plate, it's a Pacific plate. On the east side of the plate, it's a North American plate. On the east side of the bridge, the east side of the bridge is the North American plate. On the west side, it's the Pacific plate. Okay? These two plates are moving north and south respectively at a rate of about 2 inches a year. As we all know, the movement creates immense pressure as the two plates seem otherwise locked in place. The pressure will have to be released at some point. It always has. It's been a lot of years since it's happened. When that happens, we can expect a potentially devastating earthquake that will rock the state from top to bottom. From top to bottom, guys. This fault is an ever-evolving giant that slumbers lightly under the Earth's surface and stirs dangerously and often according to its own whims and its own rules. In 1995, actually since 1995, a focused earthquake prediction experiment has been in progress in Parkfield. The earthquake experiment is called the Parkfield experiment. Go figure. The stated purpose is to better understand the physical and physics of an earthquake, the physical activity of an earthquake, what actually happens on the fault and in the surrounding region before, during, and after the earthquake. Since the mid-'80s, scientists have been focusing on what's going on. They deployed an array of scientific advanced monitoring devices called seismometers and strain meters and creep meters and GPS sensors, monitoring movement both vertically and horizontally, sideways, to capture detailed data on ground movement and strain accumulation. These instruments are designed to understand the processes leading up to an earthquake by continuously collecting data. This Parkfield experiment has provided valuable insight into the mechanics of fault movement and the potential for another earthquake and earthquake prediction. The scientists have also bored 10,000-foot deep holes into the ground in Parkfield, into which they placed a large array of sensors to measure the Earth's movement. Why did they drill a hole so far deep? Because that way they can make sure that the sensors are not picking up movement of cars, people, and anything else happening above the ground. They want to strictly measure what's going on below ground. Below ground. The goal of the $3 million project is called the San Andreas Fault Observatory at depth. $300 million project, 10,000 feet in the ground. The drilling stopped in 2007, but Parkfield remains a hotspot for geological research. Parkfield remains critical to better understanding of the seismic dangers in California, north and south. The fault zone is poorly understood at depth, and so far the predictability of earthquakes in the near future is limited. But devices like they already have set up might help improve earthquake prediction or earthquake forecasting, especially if they have a large earthquake. Because all the movement they picked up can be used to show what caused the earthquake. But that's a rub. They say they need to experience a large earthquake to get the best data, to know how to predict later earthquakes. And that's the way it is in California. That's the way it is in California. Why did I want to show you this? Because, folks, we just experienced a 7.2 earthquake up at the Triple Junction on the San Andreas Fault. It's continuing to move. And it's going to continue to move. I promise you that. Do you have any questions for me? Kay says her phone was dying. That would not be good in case of an emergency. I agree. Not be good at all. Do you have any questions? That's the biggest thing I need to answer for you. If you have questions, I want to answer them. That's why we're here. That is precisely why we are here. I appreciate all of you that have been here. I think I need some oxygen, that's why I put it on. If you don't have any other earthquakes, if you don't have any other questions, I'm thinking we need to go look at some scriptures here. I typically hang out in the scriptures about an hour or so a day, probably longer than that, in fact, as my wife would tell you. Okay, I don't think you have any questions right now for me. Lucy says, wow, interesting facts about Parkfield. You needed to know it, because that is where all the instruments are that are recording data up and down the entire fault line. What is happening on the San Andreas Fault here can better forecast an earthquake further up north on the Cascadia subduction zone, in the southern region of the Cascadia subduction zone, or further north into or further south into Los Angeles or San Diego. It can happen. It can happen so quickly. I appreciate each of you being here. Scott's got to go. I appreciate you being here, Scott. Now, I want to send you off with a scripture here. For that, I'm going into 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 21 through 25. For in eating everyone taketh before other his own supper, and one is hungry, and another is drunken. What? Have ye not houses to eat and to drink in? Or despise ye the church of God, and shame them that have not? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not. For I have received of the Lord, this is Paul speaking, for I have received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Jesus, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. And after the manner also he took the cup, when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it, in remembrance of me. We talked about this Sunday. Talking about the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. Brothers and sisters, why do I say this? Why do I talk about this? Because, folks, we should remember the Savior, Jesus Christ. Remember the Savior, Jesus Christ. I've asked you even last night, as I ask you almost every day here, open your scriptures. Open your scriptures. You will be blessed for doing it. You'll be blessed. You'll be able to read verses like this that I just gave you. You'll be able to read verses. You'll be able to read full-blown chapters showing you what the Lord would have for you. The Scriptures has open dialogue for you. Open information for all of us to learn from. All I ask you now is to do what the Lord asks us to do. Read the Scriptures. And then, the Lord is a covenant person. He's made covenants with us. He's asked us, if we read the Scriptures and do what He's asking us to do, then He will bless us with eternal life, which gift is the greatest of all gifts of God. Think about that. Think about that. Know what's going on. Be prepared. Do the things the Lord asks us to do, and you'll be blessed. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I love you very dearly. That's why we're here, because I care. I want you to know what's going on. Yes, I didn't mention a lot of earthquakes worldwide. I did that last night. There was nothing major to talk about worldwide. But what I'm giving you here can save your lives. When the Cascadia earthquake happens, I believe the whole earth is going to shake. And everybody's going to know it. Everybody is going to know it. I ask the Lord to bless you now. Think about what we said. Share it with your family, your friends, your extended family, your neighbors, the people down the street. Share with your social media contacts and the people you work with. They also need this information. I care about you. I want you to know what's going on. I want to give you the information you need to save your lives. I ask the Lord to bless you, to be with you in everything you do. God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, everyone. I care. We'll see you soon. Have a great night and a better tomorrow. I promise you it will be better. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. Also, if you will, go to the top part of our program description right below this video today. You can help support us with PayPal or Venmo donations. Also, scrolling across the bottom of your screen is our address, our mailing address. Send us a letter. Send us a card. We would love to get a Christmas card or a letter from you. You can even slip a donation in that, which we greatly appreciate. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love.